Come on and give God some praise as you go back to your seats. It's about to be a beautiful Sunday morning, and we're excited about God's presence. I don't know about you, but I'm grateful that God is here on this morning. Tell somebody one more time, He's a good God. Come on. Say it one more time, He's a good God. He's a good God. Praise the Lord, everybody. Praise the Lord, everybody. It's so good to see y'all out on this morning. Super excited that you decided to spend your Sunday morning with us. Look at somebody and yell out loud, He's a good God. No, that wasn't the right somebody. Find another one. Tell them He's a real good God. You got to remember that all week long when you're going through your tests and going through your trials. You got to keep in mind, Eric, that He's a real good God. And the same God that brought me to this is the same God that will get me through this. Look at somebody else, say, He's a real good God. I appreciate you this morning, Sister Miracle, your worship. I appreciate the band. Y'all clap it up for them. Shout out to Brother Ted with the audio and visual. Y'all clap it up for them this morning. Oh, man, we're trying to move things to a different space. I hope y'all excited about what God is going to do. Today we're going to go to John 9, 1 through 11, New Living Translation. John 9, 1 through 11, New Living Translation. As you know, we've been in this series called The Greatest Comeback. We've been in a series entitled The Greatest Comeback. And some of you all have already came back from some of your greatest failures already. Some of you have already made it as a part of a comeback story. I want to tell you something, that when you have one comeback story, that's not the only one. Y'all playing with me this morning. Because sometimes you find yourself in multiple situations that you got to come back from. And here's the thing. You may have made the comeback in one area and still may be going through the fight in another. But look at your neighbor and say, He's a real good guy. And He's going to be with you through the end of that struggle and get you to your comeback. I believe this morning I'm looking at a room of people who are on the verge of the greatest comeback of their life. Maybe you've been set back financially. Maybe you've been set back in your health. Maybe you've been set back in your relationships. I don't know what your setback has been, but I know that your comeback is going to be greater than the setback. Say, my comeback is on the way. Say it again, my comeback is on the way. You got to say it till you believe it. My comeback is on the way. I love this text this morning. We've heard it before. If you've been in church in any length of time, you've heard about the blind man. Y'all heard about the blind man before? Here's a few different blind men. This morning, we're going to talk about this man who was born blind. Let's read. As Jesus was walking along, He saw a man who had been blind from birth. Rabbi or teacher, what his disciples called him, they asked him, they said, why was this man born blind? Was it because of his own sins or his parents' sins? Jesus says it like this emphatically. He says, it was not because of his sins or his parents' sins, Jesus answered. This happened so that the power of God can be seen in him. We must quickly carry out the task assigned to us by the one who sent us. The night is coming and no one can work. But while I'm here in the world, I'm the light of the world. Then He does something unusual right here. He spit on the ground, made mud with the saliva, and spread the mud over the blind man's eyes. He told him, go wash yourself off in the pool of Siloam. That word Siloam means sent. So the man went and washed and came back seeing. I'm going to say it again. So the man went and washed and came back seeing. His neighbors and others who knew him as a blind beggar asked each other, they said, isn't this the man that used to sit and beg? Some said he was, others said, no, he just looks like him. So that just looks like him. Yeah, but the beggar kept saying, yes, I'm the same one. They asked, who healed you? What happened? And here's what they said. This is what he told them. He told them, the man they called Jesus made mud and spread it over my eyes and told me to go wash in the pool of Siloam and wash yourself. So I went and washed, and now I can see. Say that right quick. Say, I went and washed, and now I can see. This morning, I want to talk about the turning point. The turning point. I want to talk about the turning point. Every comeback starts with a turning point. We talked about the setback a few weeks ago, which gets us into the process of needing a comeback. Y'all know what a setback is. Let's just make it little right quick. You got a bill that you couldn't pay, and all of a sudden your finances is in disarray. Maybe you had $15 in your account, but you decided to swipe 17 in McDonald's, and now the account is overdrawn. I don't know what your setback may have been, but the turning point is when you decide that I can't go back into that again. It's when you make the decision that better has to be where I'm going and not where I came from. Y'all playing this morning. See, some of us have to draw a line in the sand. Y'all know what I'm talking about, a line in the sand, saying that after this point right here, everything changes. After this moment right here, I can't go back from here. After this, some of us keep walking in the same mess over and over again because we haven't created a boundary from where it is and where we're going. Y'all quiet this morning. And I understand why, because some of us are complaining about the thing that we choose to stay in. Some of us are upset that we stay in setback when God has called us to a turning point. But some of us are sitting in a setback right now, remembering a past pain, instead of getting up and going to go do something about it. This morning, I loved how the men were moving. It began to rain and everything, and we put some rugs out, and we did some things to try to wipe up the water. But Brother Fitz, he said, you know what? No, let's take that and let's make it long ways so that the people come in, they can wipe their feet as they're coming down the steps. Pastor came and he said, no, we got to put some tape on it. We got to hold it down. I love the thought that we didn't just stay where it was and let people keep slipping and sliding, walking in the building, but we came up with a strategy and a structure and a solution to make sure that everybody can get safely to the place that they're called to. I have an issue this morning with people that stay stuck in something without getting a strategy of getting out. I got an issue with people who see a mess but won't fix a mess. I got a problem with people that know there's a problem or something that's in disarray in front of them, but they leave it as is. And see, this is the issue that's going on in the midst of a turning point. Some of us can't turn because we don't want to look at the mess no more. You got to look at that mess for a second. Abraham at some point had to look at Sodom and Gomorrah as he begged God to save these spaces. He had to look at it and say, I got to leave some of that back there, because if I don't leave that back there, it's going to consume me. And some of us have been consumed by things that we should have left behind. Say, this is my moment. This is my season. This is my turning point. A turning point is not just a moment that just happens. It's a decisive moment. It's when you make a decision to say, I'm not going back there. I'm not doing. Some of us simply have the issue of not making a decision. And I want to tell you this morning that indecision is a decision. When you decide to do nothing at all, when you decide to stay where you are deciding that this is what's best for you. But this morning, I can't stay where I am. I can't stay in this mess. I can't stay in I got to get up out of this. Say it to your neighbor right quick. I'm coming out of this. Say it again. I'm coming out of this. Yeah, one of my favorite musicians of all time is Ray Charles. Ray Charles. Y'all know Ray Charles. You know, hit the road, Jack said. I just wanted to make sure I was at the right church. That's all. I just wanted to see where I was at. I wanted to see if y'all was going to play like y'all didn't know Ray, but we here, so we cool. Ray, one of the greatest musicians of our time. Ray crossed generational lines. He crossed genres. He done things with music that no one else done, Elder. But Ray had a problem. Ray had a problem. Not only did Ray smoke that dope, let me make y'all. Boy, I love my church, boy. I tell you, right now, I love my church. You got to take a breath before that. You know what I'm saying? I love my church, yo. You know where I'm at, though, so we cool, yo. So check it. Ray had a problem. Ray had a problem. Ray was blind, but Ray wasn't born blind. Ray, as a young boy, suffered from glaucoma, and the glaucoma led to him losing his eyesight. There was an issue that happened younger in Ray's life. Ray had a younger brother named George. One day they were outside playing, and their mother was a housekeeper of sorts during those times, and she was cleaning the laundry for somebody. She had a scalding hot tub of water. Ray and his brother are outside playing. His brother was playing too close to the scalding water, and he fell into the scalding water. Ray Charles sees this. And all of a sudden, he's devastated. His mother's yelling at him like, why didn't you say nothing when this happened? Because your brother lost his life because you didn't say anything. Young Ray started to take responsibility for a death that he didn't even call. And you're right, Elder. As time went, he develops this addiction to heroin. He loved that dope. It's crazy. He loved that dope. Ray loved that dope. Here's why he loved it. Because when he was by himself, although he was blind, he kept having flashbacks of a pain about his brother. He couldn't get past what he couldn't control. I'm preaching this morning. He couldn't get past what he couldn't control. Ray sounds like some of us. Some of us are stuck needing closure because we simply can't get past what we cannot control. Ray was losing sleep. Ray was trying to find peace and couldn't find it. He starts traveling with musicians. The musicians start doing dope. They tell him, Ray, listen, man, you're already blind. You don't want to add this to you. Ray says, listen, I've already seen the lowest and the darkest that I could possibly see. If I need anything else, I need this right here to make me feel null and void. And I don't know about some of y'all, but I've been addicted to escaping before. I've been addicted to escaping playing. Whether it's sitting here playing music all day or whether it's spending time with my friends, I've been addicted to escaping. And if you're honest, you've been addicted to escaping. Maybe you can choose the drugs that Ray choose. Maybe you can choose the bottle. Maybe you can choose a significant other. Maybe you get escaped by getting lost in your work. Maybe you find yourself in the midst of everybody's drama, and that's how you escape. Because their problems is worse than your problem. So you think I can escape over there and help them fix their stuff while your life is a ragged mess. And we all have those issues where we're trying to escape something that we do not want to confront. Here's Ray trying not to confront the pain, trying not to deal with the pain, but trying to cope with it. He develops this addiction. His mother tells him something early on in his blindness. She was trying to help him see differently. Here's what she says. She says, Ray, you're blind, but you're not stupid. Don't let nobody turn you into a cripple. I'm going to say it again. She said, Ray, you're blind, but you're not stupid. Don't let nobody turn you into a cripple. Here's the issue that Ray had. Ray thought that escaping was helping him deal. But the problem was, it was pushing him further away from his healing. He was creating so much space and a dependency on something else that not only was he escaping, but he was creating a different reality for himself. And I don't know about you, but I've created a different reality for myself before. I've created a space where I thought that no one could hurt me, where the life couldn't affect me, where storms couldn't stop me, where people throwing daggers and darts couldn't hurt me. I've tried to create those spaces like that. Ray realized that that space didn't work. That space in 1963 here in Indianapolis caused Ray Charles to get locked up for use and possession right here on Meridian. He was here just doing a concert, and suddenly he's locked up. And the thing that he's great at, he can't do because he's caught up on escaping. I wonder how productive you are when you escape. I wonder how productive you are when you try to escape reality and then try to focus on something that's real. Can't be too productive because your heart ain't in it. You can't even see it right. Look at your neighbor and say, look again. Look again. This was a turning point for Ray Charles because what he does is he realizes that although they illegally searched his hotel room and the charges was dropped, he still was on the verge of losing everything. And Ray had to do what I told you to do a few minutes ago. He had to draw a line in the sand. Here's what Ray does. He checks into rehab. And in rehab, he starts dealing with the things that he was trying to escape from. In this text, Jesus was having a problem. Jesus had just got through having one of the greatest debates of his life in John 8. He's talking to the Pharisees and the religious leaders of the time, and he's having a conversation with them, just trying to get them this new revelation about who he is. The problem is those people were so caught up on their titles, they were so caught up on their work, they were so caught up on their control that they didn't want to see anything differently. So here they were bragging that we are the descendants of Abraham, that we are the chosen ones and the called ones, but they couldn't see the fulfillment of the promise of Abraham standing right in front. Jesus does something that makes them mad, y'all. And when we read it one way, but because Jewish thought knows it a different way, they took it another way. Light in Jewish thought is divine revelation. Light represents divinity. Jesus says something that messes these Pharisees up. Here's what he says. He says, listen, he says, I'm the light of the world. They got mad. They was ready to kill him. They was like, what you mean you're divine? What do you mean that you're divinity? What do you mean that you understand the knowledge and the wisdom of God? Who do you think you are? And then Jesus seals the deal. Y'all know how you got one person that just want to keep on talking crazy after they're already mad. Jesus didn't care about none of that. He was like, you can be mad all you want to. Let me just go ahead and take it a little bit further. He says it like this. I know you're descendants of Abraham, but before Abraham was, I am. Before Abraham even had a promise, I was the promise. Before Abraham had a seed, I was the seed. Y'all playing with me this morning. Jesus understood who he was, and he stood on who he was. There's a problem here. Because Jesus now is running for his life. They decide that they want to stone him. And as Jesus is leaving from these men who claim to see inside of the temple, he runs into a man outside of the temple who was born blind. And seemingly the two things have nothing to do with each other until you realize that blindness in the Jewish tongue doesn't just equate to you not being able to see, but it's you not being able to perceive, not being able to understand. Watch this. Not being able to see what's directly in front of you. It sounds like some of us that our positions and our titles and our money and everything that we've grown ourselves up to be is keeping us from seeing what's in front of us. It's keeping us from seeing the mess. It's keeping us from seeing the promise. It's keeping us from seeing the solution. It's keeping us from seeing the strategy. It's dangerous, elder, to rest in a position, to rest in a title, to rest in a function when God has called you to see something else. That's the problem that many of us have. We're stuck on the last revelation. We're stuck on the last understanding of who God is. We're stuck on the last understanding of what this is. And when the new revelation comes, we're blind. We can't see it. We can't understand it. We can't perceive it. It doesn't make sense to us. Let me show you what happens in this text. Jesus and his disciples, they start walking out, and his disciples do something crazy, y'all. They do something crazy. They start talking senseless. Y'all heard this before. Common sense ain't all that. Say it again. Common sense ain't all that. Yeah. The first time I heard that, I laughed so hard. Just like some of y'all, because y'all might have just heard it for the first time today. It's all good. Common sense ain't all that common. And sometimes those around you don't know how to use the sense that they have. It's a choice to use your sense. It's a choice to make sense. God help me. You can't make me believe that when somebody does something senseless that they ain't thought about it. Oh yeah, they done thought about it. They just thinking from the wrong space. And some of us are with people that lack common sense. Some of us are hanging around people who speak nonsense. They do senseless things. They say senseless things. They respond in senseless ways. They react in senseless ways. And as a matter of fact, with those people, don't nothing ever make sense. Here's the disciples. They look at Jesus after Jesus just got through having this big debate with all the religious leaders of this time about who he is. And they're going to look at him and say, Jesus, rabbi, teacher. See, when they call him rabbi, that means they want to learn something. It's like your kid saying, teacher, I need help. That's what rabbi is. He said, rabbi, teach us, help us. We need an understanding right here. He said, who sins first? Who sinned? The boy in the womb or the parents? And I got to know Jesus, because if Jesus just got through talking to these religious leaders crazy like he just got through talking to them, ain't no way in the world that he was going to let his friends slide. There ain't no way in the world he wasn't going to call out stupidity in his crew if he called it out. And that's the problem some of y'all have. Y'all can see the foolishness that everybody else do, but your little homegirl, your little homeboy, you don't want to call out his foolishness. You don't want to call out his senselessness, probably because you're a part of it. You like to see everybody else's drama and how it plays out, but none of us really want to take the time and talk about the senselessness of the run. Jesus says something to them. He says, what you mean? How he gonna sin and he wasn't born yet? Make it make sense. Here's the problem. Jewish thought back then was any form of crippleness, any form of deformity, anything was considered a curse because somebody sinned. Show you something right quick. Things that we think are special, they was considering a curse. Y'all know Fitz, you get a good left-handed ball player, what happens? That left-handed ball player can run the game, can't he? Right? Here's the issue in the Bible, though, Pop. You know what the issue in the Bible is? They thought that the man with the left hand had a problem. He was deformed. Matter of fact, you know what left-handed meant? It meant weak in the right hand. Because the right hand is the hand of favor. So what he's saying is you're weak in favor. And he wouldn't even choose that son that was, y'all messing with me this morning, man. He wouldn't even choose the left-handed son. Jewish culture, they just had different things that they thought about. They wasn't like us. They not like us. They not like us. And here's the problem that I have, though, because we keep trying to make them just like us instead of us trying to be like Jesus. We keep trying to make their culture our culture. We keep trying to understand things in that way like it makes sense for us. But sometimes you just got to get close enough to Jesus and say, Rabbi, teacher, help me. I don't understand. Jesus says to them, he says, it ain't about who sinned. Y'all wasting y'all time having conversations about stuff that don't matter. Jesus said this happened in his life so that God can be seen through him. I want to tell you something that sometimes, oh God, I love you. Sometimes the senselessness is keeping you from seeing the opportunity that's right in front of you. Yeah, sit on it. Sometimes the senselessness that you won't correct. Sometimes the nonsense that you allow to be spoken in your atmosphere. Sometimes that senselessness that they talk just won't allow you to see the opportunity. It won't allow you to see the open door because you're wasting time talking about who done it, who did what. And some of us want to know so much backstory and detail, watch this, that we don't even know what we're supposed to do. Jesus corrects their thinking. He said, ain't nobody sin. God did this so that we can do what we're called to do. He says this next part, and it blesses me. He says, night is coming, and won't nobody be able to work when night comes. I want to break down three things. Here's my point number one. Point number one is this. I want to say it just like this. Number one. Your blind spots are blocking your blessings. Say your blind spots are blocking your blessings. Number one, I want to do a quick word study right quick so y'all get this and y'all really understand where it is. Here's number one. That word blind means this. That word blind means tiflos. And that word means, it doesn't just refer to a physical blindness. It's symbolic of spiritual ignorance and lack of perception. As a matter of fact, it's being able to perceive spiritual truth. As a matter of fact, it's failing to recognize righteousness. It's missing the divine movement and opportunities. Even deeper, that word blindness is willful blindness. That means you choosing not to see it. That means you choosing not to do nothing about it. It's willful blindness. The next word that I want to break down for you right quick is that word work. Work, that word means ergon. That word is a divine assignment or God's work. Say divine assignment or God's work. It's work that has eternal significance. It's work that has deeds that are partnered with God's purpose. They were so busy asking who sinned that they forgot that they were on divine assignment. Some of us are so busy talking about everybody else's mess that we forget that we are on divine assignment. Some of us are so busy rumoring and chatting and talking about this and talking about that, and we don't realize that there is an allotted time to complete the assignment. It's not an open-ended assignment. Let me show you how I know it's not an open-ended assignment. The next thing Jesus said is night is coming. Let's break that word night down. That word night says like this. That word night is nyx, N-Y-X, nyx. And that word means this. It means that it's spiritual darkness, a loss of opportunities, and coming judgment. Jesus tells them this. He said the moment is coming where you won't be able to do the thing that you're called to do. Pastor Jay, what you saying? I'm saying that some of us simply can't see what's in front of us. Here's why. God, I love you. Here's why we can't see what's in front of us. Number one is because we're blind. Number two is because we're missing the work. Number three is this, y'all. Number three is this. Night is coming and the clock is on. From a mentor of mine used to say this all the time. He used to say, Jay, it's getting late early. Say it again. He said, Jay, it's getting late early. Y'all know, we just left out of daylight savings time. Y'all know what is getting late early means. That means it's getting darker sooner. That means you have less daylight. That means you have less time. The problem with most of us is we are willfully blind, not realizing that we only have limited. We're not making changes. We're not making decisions. We're not moving forward. We're not making the most of the opportunity because your blind spot, what you refuse to look at, what you refuse to address, what you refuse to deal with, what you refuse to confront is blocking all of your opportunity. I can imagine some of us praying right now saying, God, I need an open door. God, I need an open door. And you may be standing right in front of the open door blindly. Simply because you won't deal with your spiritual blindness, your perception. Here's what the blind man understood, y'all. He understood that Jesus was Jesus. But the religious leaders couldn't even see Jesus for who he was. My question is, what are you looking at that's standing in front of you that you don't even understand? That you ain't even perceiving right? You ain't even seeing it. God, I hear you. You're not even seeing it as an opportunity. You're so blind, it's standing in front of you, and you don't even see it as an opportunity. Y'all playing this morning because y'all quiet. Yeah. What are you looking at right now that's directly in your, that's right in front of you, that you can't see it as an open door because your mind can't perceive it? Say, Lord, fix my mind. No, say it, Lord, fix my mind. Spiritual blindness is not just about knowing, but it's about seeing what God is doing right in front of you. Here's the deal. Your blind spots are blocking your assignments. They're blocking your opportunities. They're blocking your blessings. Your blind spots will keep you debating instead of doing. They'll keep you waiting instead of working. They'll keep you analyzing instead of working. Here's what's going to happen. You've got to snap out of it. You've got to snap out of it so that you don't miss it, so that it don't get dark early, so that the nighttime don't come and catch you with your work undone. Some of us have not been able to jump into the assignment just yet because we can't even see it. Your blind spots are blocking your opportunity. You're waiting on trying to figure out why something isn't happening the right way. You're spending too much time talking instead of doing something about it. You know what I love about this morning? We seen it start raining in the beginning. And I said, man, do we got some more of those rugs that we can maybe put some outside? And we was talking about what to do. I love the fellas that came this morning and didn't talk about it. They seen what needed to be done, and they did something about it. I'm trying to tell you, I don't need nobody to come around me and start talking. I don't need you to just start talking about what you're going to do. I don't need you to talk about what you could do. I don't need you to talk about how you can help me. I need you to help me. I don't need you to tell me, oh, man, I could do da. You know what I love about Brother Tay? Brother Tay, when he first got in here, he said, oh, man, we got all this. We can do all this with this. He can just say what he can do. He did it. And some of us have the problem of explaining what we can do without having the fruit of what we do, without being able to do it. The problem is your blind spot is blocking what's directly in front of you. So get it together. Now tell somebody, get it together. Uh-huh. I need y'all to shout this right quick. I need y'all to make this real. Say, I refuse to let my blind spots block my breakthrough. One more time. I refuse to let my blind spots block my breakthrough. I need y'all to say it one more time until it really means something. Say it. I refuse to let my blind spots block my breakthrough. Here's what I need you to do for a second. I'm going to give you about 10 to 15 seconds right quick. I need you to write down what your blind spot is. Yeah. What's keeping you from seeing what's in front of you? Is your job your blind spot? Are your children, who sometimes is your soft spot, your blind spot? Is your relationship your blind spot? Is your money and your wealth your blind spot? Is what you don't have your blind spot? What's your blind spot? Think about it for a second. Here's the next point. Obedience activates your miracle. John 9, 6, 7 says it this way. Then he spat on the ground, made mud with saliva, and spread the mud over the blind man's eyes. He told him to go wash yourself in the pool of Siloam. Siloam means sent. And so the man went and washed and came back seeing. I want to say this right here. Faith isn't just about what you believe. It's about what you do. I'm going to say it again. Faith is not just about what you believe. It's about what you do. The miracle didn't happen when Jesus made the mud. The miracle didn't happen when Jesus put the mud on him. The miracle didn't happen until the man decided to move at Jesus' word. I want to tell you something this morning. That faith don't sit. You can't tell me that you standing in faith while you sitting down. You can't tell me that you believing while you sitting. The Bible says that faith without is dead. Faith doesn't sit. Faith moves. Faith steps. Faith goes into a direction. The Bible says it this way: the steps of a good man are ordered, but those steps are ordered by faith. I ask you a question this morning. Do you know where you're going? Do you really know where you're going? Because some of us are waiting to see before we move. And here's what's crazy about Jesus' instruction to a blind man. So not only is he blind, and not only is he now walking around with this saliva mud on his face, but he can't see. And Jesus told him to walk to the pool, go in and clean himself off, and come back. Listen, y'all. The miracle was you were going to come back seeing, not that you were going to go seeing. So he blindly went where Jesus sent him. And some of us with our eyes wide open won't do what Jesus says do. Some of us with our eyes wide open won't get up and come to church on time. Some of us with our eyes wide open won't even jump on 6 a.m. prayer. Yeah, I know. Jesus said to this man, if you want a miracle, you got to go get it. If you want something to happen different for your life, you got to go do it. I've provided it, but it's up to you to activate it. I want to talk about something right quick. There's a revelation that God gave me in this moment because I know I'm looking at y'all faces. Y'all like, ain't no way in the world Jesus was going to spit on me. And y'all thought, I know. Y'all can't even get it right in your mind. See, y'all can't see what's in front of you because you can't perceive this lesson. Let me give it to you so you can see it differently. Let me help you right quick. In Jewish thought, y'all say Jewish thought. Yeah, see, I want y'all to understand something right quick. Their culture is not our culture. They don't do what we do. But if you understand why they do what they do, you'd understand the poeticness of the text. Because some of y'all are reading poetry that's in the Bible and trying to build a life around it, but you only hear the poetry and you don't understand the lesson. So you're blind to what's in front of you. Here it is. Here's what Jesus was doing. They believed that the essence of a holy man or an essence of a healer was inside of their saliva. Yeah. So in ancient times, no matter what happened, that healing man would come. Y'all act like that's something new. Y'all act like y'all ain't never been somewhere with your mama and you forgot to wash that little corner out your eye and she can just... Y'all playing like ain't nobody ever put they spit on you. She did it this morning, didn't she? My bad. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do you like that. Y'all act like this is a new concept. But Jesus did what your mama did. He made the man presentable for where he was going. Y'all playing this morning. And sometimes the messy stuff is what makes you presentable. Sometimes just the dirt and the mud and the spit that makes it. As a matter of fact, here's what Jesus was really doing. He was putting himself in your situation. Y'all playing with me this morning. He was putting himself in your situation. I know it was messy. I know it was muddy. But what Jesus decided to do was place divinity in some mess. Here's what I'm trying to tell you sometimes. If it takes mud to get Jesus in my mess, give me the mud. If it takes spit for Jesus to get involved in, give me the spit. The problem for us is we want to control how Jesus is involved. You can't control how Jesus gets in your situation. But all you got to do is make room for Jesus. Say, make room for Jesus. What Jesus was simply trying to tell him, it's like, I ain't trying to be nasty. I'm just trying to involve myself in your affairs. I ain't trying to be messy. I'm just trying to involve myself in your affairs. I ain't trying to mess you up. I'm just trying to involve. Jesus was trying to get inside of this situation. And the way that he did it was using his essence, using his saliva. But Jesus did something for us over 2,000 years ago. Here's what he does. He uses his blood. And he raises his arms. And he gives his life so that he can get in the midst of our situation, elder. Here's what he does. He takes the place for us. He takes our sin. He takes our shame. He takes our brokenness. He takes our ruins because we simply give it to Jesus. All Jesus was trying to do was get involved in the situation. I wonder how many times Jesus tried to get involved in your mess and you thought it was too nasty to let Jesus in it. I wonder how many times Jesus tried to get involved and fix something for you. And you said, no, Jesus, I got this. In this season, you got to let Jesus get involved in your mess. No matter how messy it is, no matter what the method is, no matter what the strategy is, you've got to let Jesus get involved. Say, let Jesus get involved. Here's the next part about it. There's a divine pattern that's happening right here. When God forms man in Genesis, here's what he does. He forms him out of the dirt. And then the Bible says that the Spirit of God breathed into his nostrils. Before the Spirit of God breathed into his nostrils, elder, he forms the man. He forms him in the dirt. But the Bible says that water sprang up from the earth. What God was doing was involving divinity inside of men from the beginning. He was getting involved from the very beginning. He was getting involved from the very. Here's what Jesus is doing. He's recreating again. He was making mud all over again. Here's what mud does. Mud gives you an opportunity to make something new. If we had some construction workers, my father said today he's not a worker but a foreman, and he does all the things that goes with it. I want to tell you, he'll tell you that if somebody busted the wall today and they needed to mud up the wall, in order to make the wall new, you need mud. In order to fix something and make it right, you need mud. As a matter of fact, Elder, what do they call it? When you're putting the drywall up and you connecting it together, what's that called? It's mud, right? The little. Here's an issue that I'm having because Jesus is trying to make something new in this man's life. What is he trying to make new? He ain't trying to make him new eyes. He's trying to give him a new perception. He's trying to make sure that he doesn't see like a blind man. God help me. He's trying to make sure that he doesn't perceive like someone walking in darkness. He's trying to make sure that he doesn't understand like somebody that don't get it. Here's what Jesus is doing when he's getting involved in your situation. He's changing your perception about what you're looking at. Yep, you call it depression, but what he calls it is a season and a cycle, and he can pull you out of it at any time. What you call it is fear, worry, doubt, anxiety, and what he calls you is leaning and trusting and depending on me. See, some of us have simply got to look at things from another perspective. Say, Lord, fix my perception. No, say it loud. Lord, fix my perception. That place that he sent him to was the pool of Siloam. That was where he was sent to. I have a question this morning. Where is God sending you to get yourself clean? To get your perception right? To get your view right? Where is he sending you? Because some of us are aimlessly walking without being sent. The thing about this blind man, even though he couldn't see where he was going, he knew where he was sent. And some of us, even though we can't see where we're going, we got to know that God sent us. Because if God sends us, Elder, everything we need is going to be there. Our healing's going to be there. Our breakthrough's going to be there. Our deliverance is going to be there. Our provision's going to be there. Our opportunities is going to be there. The peace that you want is going to be there. Say, Lord, fix my perception. Here's the last one, and we out of here on this one. This is this. He says, your healing is bigger than you. The Bible says this. It says that all the people who knew him, his neighbors, all the people that were around him, they say this. They said, is that the man that was begging? Is that, they didn't even call him a man. They said, is that the beggar? Read your text. Is that the beggar? Here's what I love about Jesus in the beginning of chapter 9. Jesus never labels the man by his condition. He calls him a man that was blind from birth. And see, some of us have been answering to our condition and to our struggle instead of the essence of who we are. See, the reason why Jesus was able to get through to him is Jesus seen him as a man. Maybe he was a broken man. Maybe he was a man that wasn't in the same space that he was once in before, but he was still a man. And see, the problem that some of us have right now, when we see other people in situations that ain't like ours, we don't start at the lowest common denominator. We don't say, oh, they're human, just like me. Oh, blood is running warm through their veins, just like mine. Now, we find all of the differences and all the things that ain't right about this one and all the things that's better about me than it is about you. And then we call them by their conditions and by their struggle. So he's a homeless man. He's a cheating man. He's a lying man. No, he's just a man that may have lied. And see, some of us, God, I hear you this morning. I hope this breaks something free in you this morning. Listen, some of us are answering to our condition and our struggle instead of answering to our name. His condition was he was blind. His struggle was he was begging. He answers them. He says, they say, ain't that the beggar? He said, looks like him. Here's what he says. Nah, it's me. I got a question for you. What are you allowing people to call you? What are you allowing people to say to you after Jesus heals you? After the transformation happens? Are you allowing them to call you by your condition? Are you allowing them to call you by your struggle? Are you allowing them to call you by your disability? No, you are more than a conqueror. Greater is he that lives in you than he that's in the whole world. You can't keep answering to your condition. You can't keep answering to struggle. You've got to answer to who God has called you to be. And I hope y'all understand today that this blind man, Jesus wasn't trying to make him into a preacher, but he became a preacher. Jesus didn't say, hey, man, here's your preaching license, here's your ministry license. We'll get you some engagements right quick. Sign them off with the administrator. He didn't do it like that. Here's what Jesus does. Jesus says, go, and on your way back, you're going to be seeing. And that was the only instruction. But the man started preaching and testifying all on his own because he started walking in the freedom. God, I hear you. He started moving differently. He started taking different steps. He stopped sitting in the mess. He made his point to his turning point, and he started going in a different direction. God, I hear you. And some of us have the problem of waiting on Jesus to pull us when Jesus sent you to go get what you need. He's already sent you for provision. He's already sent you for protection. He's already sent you. Here's my question this morning. Where is he sending you? And what is he sending you to wash off of you? Because it wasn't just the mud that the man washed off, elder. He washed off blindness. He washed off that messed up mindset. He washed off that messed up perception. He washed up the messed up thoughts. What is God asking you and sending you to go wash off of you? Because you can't keep thinking like that if you're going to be successful. You can't keep talking like that if you're going to walk into purpose. You can't keep responding and reacting like that if you're going to be who God is. Where is he sending you to wash that mess off of you? Where is he sending you so that you ain't the same way no more, that you keep standing in front of a blessing but not walking into it? Where is he sending you to get your mind right? Because you can't stay how you are. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, this is my turning point. I need you to do me a favor. I need you to think about it for a second. Where has he called you to be? What has he called you to do? What has he called you to see differently? What has he called you to hear differently? Because maybe the thing that he called you to do, maybe the thing that he called you to be, you can't see it, you can't do it because you can't perceive it. Say, Lord, fix my perception. Lord, fix my clarity. Lord, don't let my blind spots block my breakthrough. And I don't know, maybe some of us are at that turning point today where we just got to make that line in the sand. Where we got to say, from here, it's going to be Jesus all the way. From here, they can't call me liar no more. From here, they can't call me cheater no more. From here, they can't say that I'm low down no more. From here, they can't call me broke. From here, they can't call me disrespectful. From here, they can't call me by my condition or by my struggle, because he's called me out of darkness and into his marvelous light. And this morning, I just want to know, what have you been called to? And all of us here have been called to be both sons and daughters of God. But this morning, we have to make a line in the sand to where we say we're not going back to where we were. We're not going to do what we once did. But Father, we're moving on in a different direction. We love you, God. Come on. Can you stand up and lift up your hands in this place? Can you stand up and just give God some praise in this place? I'm going to walk.